Hi there. Can everyone hear me?
We can.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We just returned back from CS Week in Charlotte, and last week was arguably one of the largest conferences for utility industry, at least one that I've been to. So there was a lot to take in and digest, and we're here to talk about some of those hot topics that were some of the main themes and go over a lot of our takeaways. So with that being said, let's get started on introductions. I'm Rhonda Saffron. I've been at Mindgrub for about 5 years, and I recently started leading our utility practice. I am joined here by actual utility experts, though, who I'd love to introduce. I'll start with Andrew Dalton, who's based in New Orleans. He is head of our consulting practice here at Mindgrub, and he's responsible for partnering with our clients to strategize, design, and build deeply integrated technologies and experience. He has a wealth of knowledge in this vertical. He was previously with Entergy, actually, and he has experience developing new products in regulated industries, from startups to Fortune 500s. In addition, we have Jason Michael Perry, the man with 3 first names, and who's also our Chief Technology Officer at Mindgrub. He is based here in Baltimore with me and is a seasoned technology executive and entrepreneur who provides all of our clients with technical direction. He also oversees Mindgrub's strategic initiatives, and Jason is a veteran consultant with deep experience in utilities as well. And last but not least, we have Susan Adam. She is also in New Orleans and has over 30 years of IT experience with Entergy, Oracle, Strategic Solutions Applied, and right now her own software consulting business. She recently just retired as the product owner of Entergy's award-winning mobile app, which was agile developed with Mindgrub. So we've worked with Susan for quite a long time, and it's an honor and pleasure to have her here. With those introductions, we will get started with a few moderated questions and look forward to hearing everybody's answers today. I'll start with, what were some of the overarching themes that we saw at the conference this year? What was being discussed? What did we like, and what stuck with us?
So digital transformation continues to be an important topic. Many utilities are separately addressing their channels, some with different platforms and certainly in different priority sequence. But omni-channel parity is now also being addressed, and this is to improve the customer journeys across the channels. There was also focus on vulnerable customers. The number's been increasing since COVID, and now even with inflation. Several utilities presented what their customer outreach and technology solutions are to improve customer experience for those vulnerable customers.
No, I obviously CS Week is around customer service. So, there's the general CS Week theme of customer service. But outside of that, there are a lot of really interesting topics, but not an overarching theme for me. I find it very interesting to hear about emerging technologies like AI and the impact it can have in customer service, especially in call centers. EVs continue to play a role, especially in rate differentiation, and that also is a big topic in terms of vulnerable customers. So those were some things that were interesting topics. Security also popped up a few times, but I wouldn't say there was a large theme.
I would say underlying themes more than overarching, right? You mentioned EVs. The sustainability word has been getting very important in both the utility industry, but also in large Fortune 500s, all the way down to your small startups. So I'm seeing a large underlying theme of sustainability through conversations about residential customers and commercial and industrial customers. And it carries on through the various technologies that are being implemented out there, as well as partnerships. We're looking at customers differently in the utility space these days. Customers are now more partners than those who are served. And so we have to help them reach different sustainability goals through various mechanisms, whether it's in the current regulatory state or future regulatory environments. And so that's really, the sustainability item is something that I see carrying on strong.
That's right, Andrew. I heard a lot of sustainability issues throughout the conference as well, and it being a problem that they're trying to help the Fortune 500 companies with. What other major issues are utilities trying to solve that you all heard about?
So with the vulnerable customers, there were several utilities that presented. Kristen Velardo and ACI Worldwide talked about how they helped some of the COVID for Entergy. There's like 40% of Entergy that were having trouble last year still paying their utilities, and they helped to do a solution where at least late fees and overcharges were being waived for people that pretty easily were clarified by answering a few questions in the IVR. There were also some utilities that presented customer outreach, actually going out, maybe partnering with other nonprofit agencies that have the grants to fund the utilities. Some cases, the customers also couldn't pay their rent, their food, and other things besides the utility. And so some of those outreach and partnership solutions that were very successful, especially for CPS in San Antonio. And then Puget Sound talked about some more integrated technical solutions that really help that customer experience, whether they were in their web channel or on a mobile device using that same channel, just to help apply for those grants and more easily see the status of them and get that before they were disconnected.
I had the chance to attend a few sessions on customer security, and I thought it was really interesting to hear utilities thinking about their role in helping to secure customers. Things like phishing or smishing campaigns. That's if you're doing SMS exploitation kind of campaigns to try and grab customer information. I'm really interested in what utilities can do as they start to do more with mobile and web to prevent these types of security issues. Introducing features like passkey, or looking at things like Apple Business Messaging to use Apple Messaging or WhatsApp that's more secure as opposed to traditional SMS. And also different ideas for multi-factor authentication that are possible. So I think there's some really interesting things there, and I think it really couples the type of work that we do in technology with what's possible to better advocate for customers.
Absolutely. I think customer engagement it's changing, right? Customers have different perspectives and expectations from businesses they work with. The utility is not special in that matter. So I heard a lot of talk around how do you engage customers differently while also maintaining or reducing those costs to serve, especially through contact centers, right? Of course, the user experience on digital channels can always be improved, but the next wave of support is coming. I got to see a really interesting emerging technology session where a man named Paul McDonald from OPower, he was talking about ChatGPT and the role of AI in serving customers. And it's not only through making sure that there's a smart FAQ out there, Q&A, FAQ to engage with, but it's also the chatbot. How does the chatbot start making decisions for the customer and be dynamic instead of just a quick response? Taking out the IVR approach and really engaging the customer in the right way. And then even further from there, he mentioned, can you imagine a contact center who's on the phone and the phone call is live transcript analysis? And while the contact center employee is talking to the customer, the system is bringing up important parts of the service that they are getting. It's explaining something to the call center agent while they're on the phone with the client so that they can quickly respond. So you can imagine customers are going to be served more fully than ever, which will definitely increase those expectations of customers whenever they're engaging with utilities and other businesses. But it'll also make sure that they're served just in a smart way so that contact centers are less burdened with the easy stuff and more burdened with the complicated stuff that we really rely on humans to make decisions on. So I think the customer engagement, it is being seen as the new wave. It's no longer just the grid, it's putting the customer at the center of all decision making.
Yep. I know that AI is on the horizon, especially for the customer experience, but were there any other interesting technologies and approaches that you saw at the conference?
Well, the mobile app continues to be a highly preferred channel for customers, and it was interesting to see several utilities present where they are with developing that mobile app. One thing that does seem to be the common theme, though, no matter what utility and where they are in their mobile app, is that at least the major customer journeys, viewing and paying my bill, looking at my real-time usage, And then also in the event of outages that I can see what is the status of my power out and when will it be back on via map or for me to report it in that mobile channel. Also, customization and segmenting, especially for C&I customers, that's increasing in several, discussions about that, especially as those C&I customers have sustainability requirements.
Yeah, I think about the grid, right? You're talking about some of the customer-facing elements of the grid, but also I was geeking out about GridX. I just think GridX is a really unique rates platform that allows rates teams as well as analytics teams to do design and analyze pricing strategies. And they allow you to do that and then influence and empower customers through really clear information about what programs to participate in, what rates, what time of use rates. And what happens is they're seeing this more strategic partnership with these residential customers. And then there's more partnership that turns into participation and then a more dynamic grid. So I think GridX is really, really interesting. I see them continuing to grow in this space, really setting the bar for how we engage with the large amount of data that's out there and make sure that customers are taken care of and on the right rate.
So at Mindgrub, me and Todd, our CEO, like to talk a lot about the singularity, the merging of human and technology. Now with AI, we talk about this concept of cobiotics, which is, it's almost like the cyborg. It's humans performing tasks, but aided by robots and artificial intelligence. We may not be there yet, but if you take a step back and you think about how that emergence happens, it's about the ability to communicate with one thing that understands you holistically. And the continuous thing that I felt was really interesting is this idea of omni-channel. It's really converging the web portal, the mobile app, as well as the customer care center in a way with chatbots that you're talking to one entity, one human, one person across the board. That convergence, I think, is the biggest evolution that's going to happen in the industry. And I want to be able to look at my services such as EV services and start a conversation in any of these different venues, but at the same time know that it understands me. And I think AI is about creating that same understanding so that if I start a conversation in the chatbot, I can finish it with the human, or I can also complete it with mobile, web, or other elements and have that holistic conversation.
Absolutely. I think that all of those themes and technologies at the end of the day are putting the customer first. Were there any themes around communications that you saw from utilities vendors presenting? And maybe specifically about the AI? Go ahead.
So Questline and AEP Ohio presented on customer segmentation, and it was interesting to learn that AEP, they have a choice of where the power is generated, even though they still use the distribution and transmission regulated. But they talked about customizing their content and even their timing so that they're really looking at the segmentation for those C&I customers versus what they may be communicating to the residential customers. And they talked about the interest in various industries where they focused some marketing campaigns and most especially specific newsletters that were industry specific for their C&I customers to make sure that they were more focused on each type of industry.
C&I customers, it's always been a focus of utilities, right? But it seems that there's a deeper yearn to engage with those C&I customers and really understand what their needs are. Not as much in sessions, but just in conversations, with various utility partners. I heard a lot about partnering with C&I customers. And I know I just mentioned that, but that's really what I'm seeing is that these key accounts they're requiring more than ever, right? Not only to hit sustainability goals, but also to get data so that they can analyze it and make better business decisions and hit their business objectives. So I think we'll see an increased amount of partnership and information available to C&I customers. That's not as ad hoc, it's more active and proactive from utilities to really not only help them hit sustainability targets, but also integrate new technologies and DER technology on the grid, as well as just understand how they're playing a role on the grid. Who am I as customer one on the grid? And I think it'll be important to tell that story.
Absolutely. A lot to take in, a lot of good information. I'm curious to hear which sessions did you find the most interesting?
My
Well-
favorite was responding to new government mandated sustainability programs, and that was a panel of some leaders, Zishan Sheikh from PSE&G, Jody Allison from Liberty, and Shankar Sengupta from Nextera. It was really helpful to learn what each are doing to address the tactical government mandates, integrating them with their digital solutions, while also developing strategic solutions for the longer term. Jody explained that when Liberty originated nearly 35 years ago, they started out only with renewable sources for generation. They're continuing to replace fossil generation for their customers across the US, Canada, Bermuda, and several other countries. But at the same time, they're busy doing their digital transition. They're using IBM and SAP for both their external customer journeys as well as their internal needs. Shankar explained that Nextera uses some renewable sources, including solar and wind, and they have a goal of zero emissions by 2045. Their digital transformation is nearly completed. They're in SAP, Salesforce, Adobe, and Cisco. They have the exception that their billing engine is still legacy and it's going to be transferred to SAP. Zishan shared some PSE&G's goals. They're shuttering the non-nuclear and replacing with hydro and different gas mix. And they're determining if their pipes can handle this gas mix change. But he explained that government mandates aren't disruptive nor aggressive from his perspective, since they depend on legislators' term limits, which are somewhat short. The government's going to mandate what the customers want. And Zishan explained that not all our customers are educated yet on sustainability, and most can't afford it even if they do understand it. So meaningful data needs to be provided by the utilities with people there to analyze that data who can understand it when addressing these new sustainability opportunities. All the panelists agree that the utilities industry needs a new lens to look at to educate the customers, obtain and grow talent in their employees in order to provide these sustainability solutions in the future.
Customers are unique, right? And it's not just C&I and residential customers. It's not just government customers. Every customer within those segments is unique. And Kristen Velardo from Entergy had a really cool session with ACI. And Susan, you mentioned this a few minutes ago, but she told a really interesting story about Entergy designing and delivering a fast digital solution to support vulnerable customers. And what they did is they empowered customers through a little bit of information and a little IVR to find out if they could get funds. And this is in a period of time where people were struggling to pay their bill more than ever. And after they had received these funds to their system, they knew that they needed to work with someone. And then in this case, they worked with ACI to provide those funds to those participating customers as efficiently as possible. And so in a matter of weeks, I think it was over 100,000 customers were able to participate in this program through using this IVR, getting the right type of communication. And then they were able to afford paying their power bill. Their power wasn't going to get shut off, right? And I think in some states they're going through a moratorium, but there's still that risk. And taking in the human element is so important, especially with vulnerable customers, because to Susan's point, vulnerable customers don't care about sustainability. They care about being able to pay their bill. It's a dollar amount. But your big C&I customers, they're not so worried about getting a bill credit for vulnerable customers, right? So just better understanding where we need to focus and what programs to bring to who, and not treating things so broadly it's going to continue to get better and better for especially vulnerable customers, but also those C&I customers.
My favorite session was the panel on AI and emerging technologies. Paul McDonald, who you mentioned, Andrew, was one of the panelists from OPower on it. We're doing a lot with AI here at Mindgrub, and it's early days, so there's a lot of exploring that we're doing with our clients. But some of the things that he mentioned specifically with AI and OPower was the ability to look at customers' usage information and automatically detect if a customer owns an EV. And then based on that, reach out to them with really targeted messaging to work on a way to have them use non-peak hours for their charging. And having an EV, you can obviously set up charging schedules and things that adapt to that. He also talked about some of the things that we're working with right now, which is sentiment analysis, being able to understand the expression from transcripts and then real time do escalation based on the information someone's saying, or redirect a user when they're calling in via call center transcripts or using a chatbot. There's some really, really exciting things there. And I'm gonna really start to kind of get my brain going in terms of what's possible with things like, a data lake or some of the information that's possible, using the information to then better understand not only what your customer needs are, but also how you can impact customer usage during peak periods.
Wow, yes, a ton of technology and newer technology is being brought into this industry. We're almost ready to wrap up, but one final question I have for you guys is Power Up is coming up. Do you think that these topics will continue to be the hot topics, or what do you foresee us discussing there?
Yes, I definitely think these topics will continue to be important, and most especially how to prepare for outages, since Power Up will be right at the first few weeks of storm season, whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, or fires. And I always love that the utilities share with each other and with the vendor solutions that are being provided during these sessions. One thing I do think is the native map that Mindgrub provided. I know in the Entergy mobile app it exists, and it's been something to share. It's nice to see that a lot of utilities are still right now doing a web map, but to be able to say, Mindgrub could provide a native map that helps fit better and position better, using a little bit of intelligence about your account is really helpful in these outage sessions.
We love that native map.
I'm a fan. I think it's still convergence. To really get the ability to take advantage of AI and some of the emerging things that we're seeing, I feel like a lot of utilities are hearing the importance of that omni-channel structure that they need to move to, and have that converging of at least the middleware and the APIs and the technology that's powering your web, your mobile, and your customer center, and your call center. Like, if those things aren't connected, it's going to make it a lot harder for you to really embed AI in the core aspect of these different communication mechanisms, so it can really share and understand and personalize the user's experience. So for those clients or those utility companies that have gone off and built multiple, technology stacks, they're finding it a lot tougher to compete and a lot tougher to create the experience that they want that's more holistic. I'm hoping that we see a lot more of that at Power Up, and a lot more conversation around not only AI and embedded technologies and the impact of customer service, but what a real omni, channel environment looks like in terms of customer satisfaction and success.
Yeah, and it's, that's customer specific, right? There's data everywhere in the utility space. Some utility clients of ours have 1,500 active applications in their IT infrastructure, which means there's data going everywhere. And so we've had this theme in definitely the utility space, but really in all industries, of harnessing that data, really understanding what it is, where it needs to go, where it needs to live. And so now it's time to analyze that data. And we are at a perfect time with AI to go in and analyze it in the most efficient and effective way. And so I think you'll see us modernizing our data pools, as well as modernizing our pipelines of data, to really be able to harness not only what's going on the customer side, but also what's going on in the back end, what's happening with the technology, what's happening on the grid, and how is everything influencing one another. So what are the human interactions that are happening with technology, or the technology interactions that are happening with the grid that are influencing other things? And so I think, similar to how we support a lot of clients through not only upgrading their tech stacks, but also expanding or minimizing tech stacks, I think you're going to see a lot of vendors telling the same story, talking about AI. It's going to be not only a buzzword, but it's going to start coming into reality. AI is not the most expensive thing anymore. Data is not the most expensive thing anymore, because it's here and it's present. From a customer perspective, we're going to see a lot more self-serve. Customers' needs are going to get more complicated, but at the same time, the easy stuff will be start, stop, move, right? It won't be a fully long process. You'll be able to start or stop or move in a heartbeat. And so I think a lot of self-serve, more programmatic approach to offerings and getting those out there through omni-channel offering, or through omni-channel digital channels, right? As well as just making sure that customers get what they need, really putting the customer at the center. And a lot of utilities are also using human-centered design to make decisions, both for service design, but also digital applications. And I think vendors are going to be talking about that too.
Awesome. That was a lot of great information. It makes me really excited for Power Up. Thank you all for joining us today. And if you are going in June, we'd love to connect with you there. So send us all a direct message and we look forward to seeing you. Thanks.
Thank y'all.